myself again, but it's the only way.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith and Holly Blades. I knew I'd get you to laugh tonight, Holly.
I know, I'm surprised because I didn't think anyone would actually make us smile tonight, but you've managed to do it, so well done.
Big thanks to your mum for making this hat. Fantastic. It's a good fit. She must have just gone for extra large head. So thank you for making this. I will be wearing it over the Christmas. I'll probably wear it at Christmas dinner, I think. And I've got my Christmas jumper on. There you go. One of three that I've got in my possession. But I'll take this off because I cannot hear a word I'm saying when it's over the headphones. And yes, I'm sitting in my living room because I'm absolutely bloody freezing. Obviously, the game didn't warm us up either. As always, we're taking everybody's questions and points in the chat tonight as me and Holly try to dissect another defeat after a week of defeats, really. Leicester 4-0 didn't turn up, really, and rightly thumped. Liverpool put in a good performance and ultimately came away with nothing. And then today, a lot of huff and puff from certain players. Few players out, and Newcastle coming away with a 4-0 humping at the hands of the league leaders. So not a great week, not a great start of the festive period. Things can literally only get better. And obviously, I'm not sure whether you heard Eddie Howe's interview. I've just bizarrely come back in and rewatched the game, fast forwarded through the contentious issues I've had a look at. And Eddie Howe at the start of the game, we were all scratching our heads wondering where Shelvey was. Shelvey was rested because of a muscle strain. Kraft and Manquillo and someone else are both they're ill. They've got an illness. So obviously that answers the question on those other missing personnel. There was no word on Lewis at all today. But yeah, it was, that was, changes were enforced, unfortunately, on Newcastle today. So Holly, you're not going to be positive. I know you're not going to be positive. What did you make of today's game?
I was gutted, to be honest. I think it's fair to say I've been probably the most negative person in the whole fan base all season. And that's not even being dramatic, which you can guarantee for anyone that would question that. But literally, I got a bit of positivity after that Liverpool game because, to be honest, I thought we played very, very well. Thought there's a chance we can get a point against Man City. I went for a 2-2 and then we would be 4-0. Just totally outplayed. I mean, Man City's a fantastic side, of course, one of the best in the world, I think it's fair to say. But it's just 4-0. It's not what you want to see because obviously when we find ourselves in the bottom of the table, you don't really expect to get anything against the likes of Man City. But then we need to try and sort out that goal difference because that could make the difference at the end of the year, whether we go up or whether we stay up or go down. So just very disappointing. I think there was obviously about half the team changed almost, which is unfortunate because of injuries. I thought if we probably played that Liverpool team, the same team that we played against Liverpool, we might have got something, but the players that came in just weren't really good enough. Clark coming back into the defence with Lascelles, I think that already kind of set us up to fail, to be honest, because they've been appalling most of the season and they didn't kind of disprove that today.
I mean, the first goal, I've watched it back. I've watched it back 2 or 3 times now. I've got to be honest, I don't blame Dubravka. If Dubravka's called for that, that is the only reason I can see that Clark left it. But for me, that was Clark's fault again. He should have headed the ball out. You don't duck unless you get a call from the keeper to say keeper's ball. And I've watched it back and it doesn't even look like Dubravka says anything. So there's no excuses for that. We've gifted another goal to the opposition, like we did against Liverpool with Shelby's back pass. And, we don't have to give presents away to teams of the quality of Man City. The first point made, and this is one that's getting made by everybody, John says, I see VAR is working intermittently in the Spurs versus Liverpool game. Mike Dean must be interfering by running past their camera or something. Kane, red card. Emerson, potential second yellow. Fraser was 100% penalty. All 3 missed by referee and VAR. We've spoken about this, haven't we, Holly? VAR you either use it or you switch it off and don't bother using it again for me, because it's an absolute joke. Fraser was wiped out by their goalkeeper today. The answer given by VAR, and the game wasn't stopped. The referee didn't have to go and look at it. There was nothing on the screen. So that's why we feel as if there's not a VAR decision. The referees at VAR said that it was because the defender came away with the ball. That's why it wasn't given as a penalty. Utter rubbish. The guy, Fraser, was taken down by their goalkeeper. No doubt about it. That was a definite penalty. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a definite penalty. Quite a coincidence how I think it was a definite penalty at Liverpool as well. Ryan Fraser again. But Edison did take him out. That is a pathetic excuse. I think for a while now, there's a few people that's been under the impression that both the referees and VAR are corrupt. They're purposely working against us. There's some biases there, and I haven't been trying to read too much into that because I think it can sound very paranoid, sound a little bit silly when you think about it. But game after game, it gets worse, and the decisions get more and more controversial. And I think you've got to start thinking, is there something going on here? Because surely every referee can't have a shocker every time the ref in Newcastle game. It's just not on at all. VAR's been absent. There's many things that should have been looked at by VAR. Hasn't even been checked most of the time, but yet the decisions always go in the favour of the opposition. Really not sure what's going on, but it's really starting to bug me now. And I think we'll already find it difficult as it is this season. We've struggled massively in all areas on and off the pitch. But when you've got kind of things that's out of your control, like VAR and refereeing going against you, it's just setting you up to fail. And sometimes you just think, what is the actual point? What is the point in even trying?
Yeah, Ian says, evening, Stephen, Holly, I'm sick and tired of these refs and more sick of me thinking about it. But surely someone from the club's got to stand up and say something. I'm not sure what you can say because, these decisions do go against you when you're at the bottom of the league. We know that. But it's just VAR. It's VAR, and it's not just the Newcastle performances. We've seen it again with Liverpool Spurs, and 2 potential penalties not even looked at. It's no wonder that people are scratching their heads like Ian, wondering what's going on. Andrew says, strange performance, heads down second half. Did you think they had the heads down?
No, not really. Not in the second half. I think there was quite a few players on the pitch that did try. We just ultimately couldn't kind of break Man City down. The defence was poor, of course. It was very, very poor. We were just kind of allowing them way too much possession in our half. I think that was ridiculous. We're just allowing them to play 1-2s and weren't even trying to kind of intercept in passes, and that was just a joke. But ultimately, I think there was a few players on that pitch, specifically Almiron, who did really, really try. I think overall, the first and the second half, we probably maintained kind of the same effort throughout. I don't think we really dropped off at any point or improved at any point.
Yeah, I think a few heads went down. It's going to be obvious that that's going to happen, but yeah, overall, I think there was 1 or 2 decent performances. We talked about this as we came out of the game. I thought Joe Linton was exceptional again for him. He put a shift in. I thought Fraser was good. I thought he pressed, he pushed, he ran. Wilson, despite the lack of support, despite the lack of chances that he was given, did put a good shift in as well. But yeah, I mean, other than that, you're scratching around and looking for players. These players aren't good enough. The players aren't good enough. And we need to find 3 teams that are worse than us to stay in the league. It's as simple as that. ADB says we need to expect all refs stitching us up now. It's no excuse for the way some players are performing. Gary says more bad refereeing. Harry Kane should have been sent off, but Toon seems to get the worst decisions. Gary, not going to argue with you, mate. We've said that as well. John says, good evening, mate, from QTech. He says, one more game. If it goes ahead till the window opens, then the owners have their first chance to take control of the situation. I want to ask you about the appointment of Hammond, Holly. I mean, we're talking about the January transfer window opening. We've now appointed Nick Hammond to oversee that transfer window. Had you heard of him, and what do you make of that?
I hadn't heard of him, no. To be honest with you, up until you said that, I wasn't actually aware that had even happened. I don't know when did that happen? Was it recently or
Only a couple of days ago? Yeah, they made the announcement. It was it was quite low key to say that he'd been brought in to oversee the January transfer window, with a remit really of making sure that they don't get rinsed, I think is the terminology that some people in the press used. But I mean, look, my honest opinion of that, I've given it already on the Amigos, but it's a good thing in principle that someone is coming in and is going to, be able to help them in that department. But, you've got to ask, why is it a short-term contract, and why now, why him? You look at the West Brom message boards, and they're full of people having a pop saying, you've signed the wrong in here, he's not very good, etc., etc. Look what he did at West Brom. I mean, I guess I feel it's good if they don't feel that they're confident enough to do the deals in the window, that they get somebody in to do it, I guess.
Yeah, I think it is important that you do have someone that kind of is on the ball, making sure we don't get overcharged for players, because that could be a massive possibility, especially considering the fact that people are very aware of the wealth that we have. But yeah, I mean, obviously I don't know too much about his background. Obviously the West Brom fans don't really rate him highly. Hopefully it's just the one window, and I would like us to bring in someone who I think has a connection with Newcastle, who Newcastle fans know, and that has an affinity with the club. But I can understand why they would want to do that. I think it does kind of make sense. In January, I honestly, and this is slightly going off the topic a little bit, but I honestly don't think we're going to be spending a great deal of money talking about getting rinsed and stuff. I think we'll probably have to target kind of the loan market and stuff like that, which I think makes perfect sense, because we don't actually know where we're going to find ourselves. You don't want to spend money on big name players who then would want to leave, and we'd have to sell them for a very small amount and lose money that way if we went down. And likewise, you don't want to sign players kind of preparing for the championship, or even just to kind of fight and stay in the league and being stuck with them for years when they're not good enough.
I've just watched that Harry Kane tackle, and that's why my eyes were kept wandering off the screen there. And that was absolutely ludicrous. That was only a yellow card. I mean, I think the fact that his foot is off the ground and he's in midair, I'm sure some of you will have seen it, some won't. But that's ludicrous. If that had been a Newcastle player, he would have been sent off. You'll have to watch that, Holly, and tell us what you think.
Well,
Michael Wallace, you've just made us laugh with that text. VAR just means that we now have two refs, two bad refs. No, VAR just means that two refs have a bad game instead of one ref that we used to have, which is a pretty good point. Well done to Toon ladies. Crixus has been there. Says took his granddaughter, was brilliant. But freezing. Gary just says that match today was so upsetting to watch. I expected it. Pre-match, I predicted a 2-0 defeat, but Supermac got it on the money at the talk in at the Dog and Parrot today. He said 4-0. Mark, good evening, mate. I hope life is good stateside. He says, better side first half, second half showed ASM is a luxury we can't afford in a relegation battle. Team performance, shape suffered when he came on. I guess that was the reason he was dropped, Holly. I mean, we discussed this on the way back from Liverpool. I said it was about time that, and I think your dad agreed that it was time to drop St. Maximin, to maybe make him wake up and realise that he's not a definite in that team if he's not doing stuff. And I think essentially that Mark's got a point there.
Yeah, he did need to be dropped. He certainly wasn't missed. Didn't really want him to come on, to be honest. I know a few people were defending him, but I think for a while now, mainly since the appointment of Eddie Howe, actually, he's just... what has he done? He's not tracking back. I think he's sticking out like a sore thumb because he's the only player on the pitch that isn't trying. If the ball isn't put directly in front of him on his foot, then he won't run for the ball. All he cares about is kind of flair play, skill, dribbling. He won't do what's best for the team in a lot of situations. He won't pass. He'll try and have a stupid shot, which he knows he's not going to put away, just so the attention's on him. And I genuinely think it's like St. Maximin FC instead of Newcastle United for him. I think his attitude's been pretty appalling, to be honest. Storming down the tunnel after the Liverpool game just kind of showed all that he kind of stood for. And the point that I've made is that you look at him under Steve Bruce, he was our best player, it's fair to say. He spoke very highly of Steve Bruce, and in my opinion, I think he was a Steve Bruce fanboy. I think he's got a bit of a shock when Eddie Howe's came in, put them in training a lot, making them graft a lot harder, and I just think he can't be bothered, to be honest with you.
John Askew says the season proper starts now. Man United are beatable. Do you agree, Holly?
I would have said we had a chance. I never thought it would be easy, but after that, no, literally no. I'll still predict us to get something at Everton, but Man U were very good. They showed us that at Old Trafford. There's a chance there, but I just think it depends what kind of injuries and stuff we have as well. If Shelvey and stuff's fit, then we'll have more of a chance. But if players like Shelvey are missing, then I think we're going to struggle, which is so weird to say because after Shelvey's past few seasons, saying that we're struggling without Shelvey is very bizarre.
It is. Gary says 11 goals conceded, 1 scored, -10. The difference, goal difference can always make a big difference at the end of the season if the teams are tight at the bottom. And we need to stop leaking goals. Centre half is a must in this transfer window. Crixus says a huge rebuilding, but whether relegated or not, I'm worried the future is brighter, even if it takes longer. Yeah, a lot of people are beginning to feel that way, that relegation is a possibility now, I think. But I'm still confident we'll stay up. John Askew says, what do you think the idea was having Lascelles next to Clark? Yeah, that was the name I couldn't remember at the start. It was Shaw. Shaw is also ill. So I think that was the reason that Shaw wasn't playing. That he was asked if it was COVID, and he said, we can't confirm that it's COVID, but, we have to take precautions when someone is showing any kind of illness or symptoms. VAR doesn't like us, Michael. You are 100% right there. You almost feel it switched off for Newcastle's games deliberately. That's the way it feels. Caseball UK says, every game where you've had decisions go against us, VAR is not fit for purpose, as they will never go against an on-field call. Today's penalty was the worst refereeing I've ever seen. You should have been at Anfield on Thursday, mate. Mike Dean is a different level, believe you me. I'm trying to be positive and optimistic, says Gary, but seriously, can you see us staying up? Yes, I can see us staying up, Gary. We're still 6 points off Leeds. We've got to play a lot of these teams. We've got 10 home games left, which is 30 points. I think it'll be tight. I think it'll go to the last couple of weeks. Could even go to the last game, but I think we'll stay up. I think there's 3 teams that will be worse than Newcastle come May. And if there's a season, delay for 2 weeks because of COVID, that could work in our favour. Be nice to think that we don't play Man United and Everton until we've spent some money or brought in some loan players. But yes, I'm not giving up the ghost yet. I think Newcastle will survive. Holly.
You know my answer, Steve. No, I don't think we're going to stay up. I've thought we've been down pretty much. I've been saying it since the start of the season, really. I started to think maybe there's a chance we could scrape by. And I take the point totally of there's some teams in that league that are very, very poor. You look at Leeds, they're dropping off, Burnley, Norwich. There is a few that are struggling. But when Newcastle aren't picking up results, we've got 10 points all season, almost halfway through the season. It's not really going to make a difference how poor teams are, because if we don't win games, then we're going to be stuck in the bottom. 6 points adrift doesn't sound bad, but I thought if we get backed well in the window, then we might be all right. But now I'm starting to think even if we sign 4 or 5 players, it still might not be enough, because when you're missing someone like a Shelvey, or if we were to miss a Joe Linton, I think the team's just totally rubbish. There's absolutely nothing there, and there's no fight.
Yeah, Man United will be difficult, as Rannick is a great manager, says Gary. Dave, yes, I do know that, but there's been no confirmation as to what's happened. I mean, to be honest, it looked like a hamstring. If it's a tear in the hamstring, he's going to be out for 8 weeks. It doesn't look good at all. But yeah, Shaw obviously was ill. Kraft was ill, and Shelvey's got a precautionary. He was left out for a precaution with an injury, so that solves all of that. And of course, Paul Dummett is just injured. Full stop. Never let the ball bounce in the box. Mr. Anderson, you went to the same school as me, mate. 100%. It's logic. It's common sense. You don't let the ball bounce. And what Clark was thinking of, I really, really do not know. Absolutely crazy. Dan says, 12 days till January. More importantly, only one more game. But there's 2 games, isn't there? We've got Manchester United and Everton, of course. Gary says then Rafa's Everton, and providing COVID doesn't prevent games from being postponed, we could be adrift. Yeah, that's the thing. There's other teams around us have got big games and hard games as well. Gary simply says VAR will relegate us. It's got that feeling of everybody against us, and you feel VAR could have a part to play. But yeah, it needs to be sorted out. It really does. VAR needs independent operating other than refs, mates, clubs. Again, I kind of disagree. We really do not know what on earth is going on with VAR. It's pointless. Somebody put a tweet out. The other day saying, if only we had the capabilities of having somebody sitting elsewhere watching the games and being able to rerun it and relay back to the referee. I mean, sarcasm is the lowest form of wit, but I tell you what, that tweet was 100% right. I think I stuck it out on the Three Amigos the other night. John says, do you agree we lack a bit of steel in midfield? The second goal being a great example. Willock could have tried a tackle but didn't bother, and they make it 2-0 as a result. Willock was definitely to blame for that second goal, Holly, but do you think we need a bit more steel in the midfield?
Yeah, I don't think the midfield's the worst kind of area on the pitch that we're struggling in. I think signing maybe one creative midfielder could be a big plus for us, because we really, really, really miss John Joe Shelby today. He's kind of the only creative player on the pitch, and you saw a lot of times when we couldn't actually make the pass that we needed to make, because there's a lot of players on that pitch that just really, really struggle unless it's a very easy, simple pass to make them. They just can't do that. Whereas Shelby normally has that ball and he's pinging it up into the box or whatever, which often meant we were passing back a lot, couldn't really get into the box. So yeah, I think a creative midfielder would definitely be beneficial. But if John Joe Shelby's in there, I think we should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, we need help all over the pitch. Supermac today at the pre-match talking at the Dog and Parrot basically said, he would sign two centre halves, a right back, a left back, a good solid midfielder and a centre forward. I mean, the wish list's getting longer because the team team sadly is getting on and isn't good enough. And I did see Christian Atsu put a tweet out earlier, more or less saying, I played with this team for many years. And they have the steel and whatever it is to get out of this. And I was thinking, well, yeah, this is the problem though, Christian. You left a couple of years ago and still the same team, Yeah, I hope he's right though. They won't get played till after January. We'll have a quieter run-in, says Dan. Shields, he says, top six seem to be getting decisions against us and other teams. Yeah, it has got that feeling. Lee says, personally, I think refs should be accountable and face post-match press conferences like players and coaches. There's no transparency, whatever. Yeah, I would agree with that, Lee. What about you, Holly? Would you like to see the refs getting grilled after each game? I mean, somebody like Mike Dean would love it, his face on the television and having his say.
Yeah, actually, I think that should kind of happen. I've thought that before, because ultimately you see a lot of the blame kind of fall at the manager's door. They've got to answer all the questions, but the referees often do have a big part to play in a game, and hearing why they made certain decisions, especially if there's a controversial decision about whether there should have been a penalty or not, I think it'll be interesting to kind of get their perspective at the end of the match.
Want to give a big shout out to Margaret, who came to the bar today. She is a lady in her 80s who has been going to the game since she was 15. She came along to see us. I hope you're well, Margaret. It was lovely to speak to you today. And Gary touches on something that we were talking about, actually, Margaret. He says, do you think we need a defensive coach to organise the defence? We have the second worst defence in the league. I personally feel, we need, we do need to have certain coaches for certain things, but you should really just be listening to Eddie Howe. I've got to agree with Supermac in the sense that it must be confusing for the team to have Tyndall and Eddie Howe. I mean, this is obviously the way they work on the sidelines, directing traffic. I'm not sure whether one's talking to the front men in the midfield and one's talking to the back four. I really don't know, but you just feel as if it could be cross messages. What me and Margaret were talking about today was the fact that Joe Cole had actually come out on either radio or television, I'm not sure which. And he had basically said that under Steve Bruce, and Newcastle were playing better defensively because he was a good defender and a good defensive coach. What do you think about that, Holly?
Was he watching us under Steve Bruce? That's what I'd question. I think we were horrendous in defence. I think that's a pattern that's kind of continued for a while. I will ask you though, Steve, like with the defence, does this worry you a little bit about Eddie Howe? Because I think Eddie Howe's done very, very well since he's came into the football club. He's made the best of what he's got, which isn't very much. But because he's got this kind of attacking philosophy and style, do you worry that we'll end up conceding too many goals?
I think the stats at Bournemouth tell you we will, because he conceded a lot of goals at Bournemouth. That was mainly the problem. However, he's not got a great deal to play with at the back. Fernandez is now injured, although I still believe there's something going on with Fernandez, which we don't know exactly what it is, whether it's personal issues or what. But Fernandez clearly not playing, and he's one of our best defenders. Obviously, Shaw was out today, but, you know, Dummett's a long-term injury. And again, you know, I keep harping on about Supermac, but it's because on a match day I spend time with him. You know, he was as frustrated as me. You're playing midfielders, you know, at fullback, and you've got defenders on the bench. Surely you should be playing defenders in defenders' positions. You know what I mean? Even if it's a centre half playing out of position, it makes more sense having him playing than having Matt Ritchie playing fullback, which is not his position, or Murphy playing fullback. You know, I do worry, but then I worry about everything with this football team at the moment because it's just not capable of getting, you know, stringing a win, you know, a couple of wins together. And that's, you know, we're back into that habit of losing after the euphoria. And it was euphoria after winning the game against Burnley. The pitch did the players did a lap of honour around the pitch, of course. You know, we need another win and we need it quickly. John saying about Man United being a potential win for us. What are we going to do between now and Manchester United to change things to win that game is what I would ask, John. It's such a big ask, you know. I look at the fixtures now and having watched the last 3 games, and although there were signs of life at Liverpool, I think I can't see us beating Manchester United, and Everton away is another difficult game. I think the next chance of a point or points is Southampton. Purely because of the position that they're in, you know, in the league. It's a 6-pointer. It's another game where we could get something out of it. We're gonna have to be on our best form, you know. Games are running, you know, games are starting to tick away and run out, but it's not over yet. I just think Newcastle will survive, but they've got to get this business done in the transfer window, you know. It's such a frustrating time. Travel Chasing says 100% Pen. Clark has to head of that away. I said against Norwich he shouldn't wear the shirt again. Up the How Mags. Paul says we'll never see a more blatant penalty. Like, it's a joke in itself that the ref didn't blow and had to go VAR. VAR is a waste of time, says Dave. Again, you won't get any arguments of us. Case Paul UK says, so according to the ref, as a player, I can punch someone on the field, and if he doesn't have the ball, it's okay. Case Paul. Yes, that's how ludicrous it is. I mean, it makes it's, you know, it is, that's the way it is, isn't it? VAR is an absolute bloody waste of time.
Yeah, it is. The game was way better before VAR. It was like in the first season or so, I think we got a few decisions that went our way, but now it just seems like no one's like doing well with VAR. It's not even checking things half the time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Rachel's put on Twitter the FA rules regarding this, irrespective of the position of the ball, but provided that is in play. I mean, honestly, the FA and that have never been, you know, they've never had the head screwed on properly anyway, but just makes a farce of it. Mark says, club or someone could create a highlights reel of all his VAR decisions going against, even to get it out there that we're onto it, and maybe it'll stop if it's highlighted in public domain. Yeah, good idea. You know, get on Adam Pearson. Maybe he's the kind of person who would do that, and ask him if he'll put a show reel together. He's once he gets a bit between his teeth, young Adam will have a go. So maybe he might do it. I might drop him a message. If referees' decisions even themselves out over a season, things are going to look up big time in the second half of the season. Yeah, well, we can hope. Lewis York says, if we did after Man City, it'll be a pen. We get bloody nothing off the referees and VAR. Lewis, you're right, mate. It's a shambles, and we can all see it now. We can all see it. I think some of us were being accused of being paranoid earlier on in the season, but it's definitely starting to look ridiculous. Gary says we need to try from the first minute to the last. Yeah, I mean, that should be a given. Some players do mind. As I say, we've already picked out Joe Linton. Replace Clark and Lascelles with Tarkowski and Cody, and we'll be fine. Gary, I think it needs more than that as well, though, mate. I'd agree those two coming in, but we need somebody who can score goals on a regular basis. And at the minute, we've got players who aren't creating the chances for our main striker. You know, we could bring another striker in, but then we need somebody who's going to, you know, be able to create the chances. It is a mess. It's a wholesale change we need. All right, okay. Rachel says, I put in the Twitter the FA rules regarding this irrespective of the position of the ball, but provided that it is in play. The excuse is utter beep, she says. Yep, you're right, Rachel. Whole team need to defend as one. Again, that's a basic, Gary. It's a basic thing which we all learn as, you know, whether you're a boy or a girl at school, you're taught basics like that. Lewis then says, if we did that to Man City with the goalkeeper, take one of their players, no bloody doubt it would have been 100% pen. We get nothing off the referees involved. Lewis, not sure if you've seen that that Harry Kane yellow card, though. It should have been a red today. It's happening all over the place. Fraser, 100% pen. Does this mean we can start wiping players out as long as the ball is with someone else? Absolute joke, these refs. No, it doesn't, because look what happened with look what happens with our players. You know, we commit a foul and it's either a yellow or a red. You know, it's ridiculous. Roger, your sympathies are with my sympathy is with you, and I'm sure Holly can extend the sympathy as well. I hope you managed to get a getaway. Norman is somebody who we go out with on a match day. He'd had one too many brown ales when I left, so God knows how many brown ales he had after we had gone. Roger, good luck. I hope you managed to find a safe place. GG says Lascelles and Clark turning their backs on the second goal. I was genuinely taught not to do this when I was 10 years old. Yeah, I mean, you might not have watched it back, Holly. I've watched it back. That's one of the things that Jamie Carragher pulled out on the football on Sky today. When the ball was hit by Cancelo, both of them turned their back.
That's madness. I haven't watched a game back. No, I'm not really planning to be honest. Don't want to depress myself any further. But yeah, that is it. That is ridiculous. I think they made many mistakes which just blatantly lead to goals. Just common sense things. The first goal, you look at it, and I think they were kind of they were looking at the ball. It literally landed in the box, and they were looking at it like it was going to turn into, I don't know, a bloody wizard or something. Like, what? Why were they just staring at the ball when it's right in front of the net? And all it takes is one little tap, and that's in the net. And then it happened. And you just see this time and time again with certain defenders at the club that literally in danger, and they act like they've got all the time in the world to sort it out when they clearly don't. And then we concede a goal.
Yeah, God, so frustrating. Big shout out to our sponsor, Spider VPN. For all your internet security, Google Spider VPN. They come up at the top of the search list. They are the boys to trust. Big thank you to them for the sponsorship and to skipsandbins.com. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free and pay as you go waste collection. And as you can see, Sir Bobby is getting himself ready for Christmas, getting the stockings up, getting his presents under the tree. We'll hope the lads at Skips and Bins have a great festive season. L&G Family Funeral Directors, thank you to you as well. 0191 389 7245. And to a new sponsor this month, Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD, hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.thegohd.com. I think I could do with some of that to calm me bloody nerves going to watch Newcastle. Arcot Interiors, big shout out to the lads down there as well, to Chris and the lads. Based on Heaton Road, Google Arcot Interiors for top class kitchens. Well worth getting yourself online and having a look at them. Thanks to John at qtechshop.co.uk. I know he's in the chat with all the other moderators. Big shout out to you guys as well, and girls, thank you for doing the sterling job that you do in the chat. And also thanks to Jab Signature, jabsignature.co.uk, who I'm hoping to meet this week. It's been long overdue, and you better get up here before we'll get locked down again. Please subscribe if you're not already. Just click the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can subscribe to the channel. We do 7 shows a week. And yes, over Christmas, they might not all be live, but we've got some entertainment for you. At least 1 show a day, and on some occasions 2, but 7 shows a week normally. Subscribe, hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner. Please hit the thumb up underneath this video. It does help us massively, and we've got 215 people watching at the moment, and a thumb up has only been hit 41 times. So everybody else does it. It does help us. It helps spread the show, spread the algorithm. It helps build it up, and it's free. Costs you absolutely nothing. So just please click on the thumb, hit the likes, and do us a favor. Click share to share to your social media, such as Facebook to Twitter. Let people know. Maybe stick it in a Newcastle group on Facebook if you're a member of one. It does help us as well. Spread the word, and drop into the comments section to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans or to post a question. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and Podbean, and the rest usually goes up 24 hours after the show. You can also become an NUFC Matters member. So if you've got your phone, you get your camera, you can scan over the top of that, and you can become an NUFC Matters member. It takes you directly to the site, nufcmatters.com, and you can become a member and enter the prize draw. You also get a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf, all in a nice little presentation pack. £25 to become a member. It's a one-off payment. Then we go into a monthly draw each month, and some exciting prizes already been won. We gave away a PS5 at the start of this month. We've given away match tickets in the past, so well worth getting involved with that. Don't forget as well, we have got some events coming up over the next few months. And January sees Peter Beardsley on at the Tyne Theatre in Newcastle, and you can buy tickets for that on Groupon or on Voucher. And you can also get tickets for the two events at the Irish Centre, an evening with Mick Mahoney and an evening with Steve Watson on the 14th and the 28th of January. Tickets for those two events are from newcastlelegends.com. You just need to click shop, and that will take you straight to there. Don't forget as well, badboysbooks.net. Underneath me there, you can buy copies of my book, Every Boy's Dream, about my 37 years supporting Newcastle United. Pavel Cernacek book, we've got limited editions left of that, and Black or White, No Grey Areas, the Lee Clark autobiography. So if you want a copy of any of those books, go to badboysbooks.net, and you can buy those books there. Plenty of other books on there that some have written, some I haven't, but well worth a look. Don't forget as well, we have got the Food Bank t-shirt, jumper, Christmas jumper, available on my Twitter, @SteveWraith. So go to @SteveWraith and make a bid for that. All proceeds go to the Food Bank. And if you want to make a donation to the Food Bank online, go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk, and you can make a virtual deposit tonight, which goes straight into the Food Bank account. Okay, back to the comment box. We need a new defence, says Tony, as it is championship and midfield reinforcements and a striker. And that was a penalty. Even Jamie Redknapp said VAR excuse was pathetic. Craig Bell says pressing as a team a lot more. Individual errors are costing us. Yeah, we've seen a few of them. I mean, that Shelby back pass was horrendous, wasn't it, the other night, which led to the goal, Holly?
Yeah, it was. I'll be inclined to forgive him for that, because I thought besides that he was one of the best players on the pitch, scored that goal, which was fabulous. But yeah, it did lead to that goal, and I think we've seen that pattern quite often. Certainly recently, one player will make one mistake and we're punished for that every time, which is so unfortunate. I think we must be one of the only teams where we make one mistake and we concede a goal. I think that's what happened against Leicester. I think pretty much all four of them goals, certainly the first two, were just stupid mistakes that could be avoided.
Magpie Groups put out an interesting tweet tonight. Mike Ashley neglects the club for 14 years and is rewarded with 305 million. Steve Bruce systematically ruined our players and was rewarded with an £8 million payoff. Not quite true. He didn't get 8 million. That was between him and his staff, but I get the sentiment. The players had mediocrity driven into them and ambition was erased. It's left to those that care to pick up the pieces. Interesting tweet. Agree with a lot of the sentiment. Dan says, in good news, Leeds, Burnley and Norwich are just as bad. John says, was the Fraser incident actually referred to VAR? Yes, it was. And the excuse that they came up with was that the defender got away with the ball. Completely ignoring the challenge. It was just that the defender took the ball away. Unbelievable. Willock won't even be a squad player in the future if he doesn't pull his finger out. The demise of Willock, we've talked about it, Holly. Probably had a better game tonight, I thought, but again, you know, was subbed off after the first half and replaced. Clearly, Eddie Howe wasn't happy with whatever job he'd asked him to do. There was a lot more effort there, I thought, from him, but again, he's just flattering to deceive, isn't he?
Yeah, I thought he was shocking today. I think he's been shocking since August, it's fair to say. Sean Longstaff came on, not a great deal better, but I think he tries more most of the time. It's so disappointing for Joe Willock. I think he was so promising, but ultimately he's just, I don't know what's happened to him, but he's really not good enough to stay in this team.
Is he suffering because of the formation? Jay says Willock is a number 10. I mean, last season was a different formation. This season, he just doesn't seem to be fitting in.
He could potentially be suffering because of the formation. That is a possibility, but I don't think that we're going to adapt the whole side to suit Joe Willock, because I think, he's not that great of a player. So I can't see him manage to fit into the team anytime soon.
Yeah, Paul, I like that. He goes, list for PIF in January, first brown envelope to VAR, second brown envelope to the English Premier League. Yeah, I kind of disagree. Joe Linton was brilliant. Munch, yeah, again, played well. Gary says I'd put most of the players up a transfer. Yeah, I mean, it's major overhaul that we need. Hammond is more of an administrator than a guy who's going to pick players, and clearly a stopgap appointment. Yeah, John, I would agree. But he's been brought in really to make sure we don't get rinsed, I think was the phrase that we used, in the sense that there's nobody else who could do that at the football club. Lee Charnley being the last incumbent of that position, and nobody there to do these kind of things. Nobody who's got that kind of experience. So short term makes you wonder if they've done a deal with somebody who can only come in next year or next season. Thomas says corruption out in plain sight. Regardless of the performance of our players, it's clear to see that in every single one of our matches, something is wrong. Gary says, my players for the window is Ward-Prowse, Tarkowski, Gallagher and Trippier, if we could. Great names there, Gary. Again, it'll be interesting to see who comes in. Ryan says, let's hope everyone is right and we get some decent players and survive, because everyone sees improvement except myself. Dan says, the article I read on it just puts him up as a guy to stop us getting rinsed and to make sure the right boxes are ticked from a legal POV point of view, that is. Dan, yeah, you're right. The rinsed phrase is definitely something I saw as well. Man City didn't get out of second gear, says Dave. Yeah, they didn't. That was actually a phrase that I said to the guy sitting next to us. I read that Supermac was going to be on or offered as an ambassador role at the club. Any truth in that, Steve? Mr. Anderson, no. He was at the club for the first couple of games. He was in the chairman's suite for the first game. The second game, he was in a lounge. But at the moment, he's happy in the press box with Gibbo. The club, I would imagine, will be looking at something, different next season in the corporate sections. I think that, they're happy with what they've got at the moment. But no, Malcolm has not been offered an ambassador's job. That was paper talk. Mark Bayer says, I disagree on spending, Holly. These Saudis will do whatever it takes to avoid relegation. We will spend whatever is needed in January. Just my opinion, though. John says, the fact that Hammond has been appointed on a temporary basis might be a positive sign. Why not permanent? The right person in the long term is absolutely crucial. Otherwise, we will waste money. Yeah, I mean, like I said before there, John, I believe that somebody must be lined up and maybe they can't come until January or after the January window. Sir Monkey Suits, as I said after the Burnley game, that Lascelles would revert to his usual incompetence. Lo and behold, also, yeah, officiating every game is upsetting, Sir Monkey Suit. Yeah, Lascelles does refer to type. There's no doubt about it. And every single manager that has looked after him, for whatever reason, sees something in him. He's clearly very good in the dressing room. Clearly somebody who pulls the team together, works well with the team. But yeah, it's certainly a strange affair, Lascelles. And again, I think we need somebody, better coming in. That's what we need. We need somebody who's going to come in and take over not over the the half role, but also the the captaincy. That's what I would say. Geordie Toomba Life says, Holly, we need to spend to stop up fullbacks in certain half need desperately, plus one attacking midfielder and another. And DMD says, cheer up, Toon. You're going to feel so good cleaning up next season. I hope so, mate. I hope so. I mean, we got some stick today from the Man City fans. Dan says, did anyone see ASM kick-ups against Liverpool? And then he gave the ball away and made the highlight reel for ASM's Twitter. Cuts right off before he makes a mess. Dan, I don't really see what he puts on Twitter. I've seen it occasionally, but ultimately, I did see that. I watched it live at the game. And I mean, showboating is no good when you're in a relegation battle. We don't need that kind of stuff going on. He just needs to concentrate on doing things properly. Crixus says, don't think a lot will be spent. They aren't going to pay stupid money if we're 90% to go down. Again, it's all about where we are come the transfer window open and what position we are in the league. You're right. It's going to be interesting to see what we do spend. Paul says, can't just keep saying the season starts now after every defeat. The season started months ago. Paul, that's been a realist, that, mate. I get where you're coming from. I understand your sentiment 100%. Mick T. Hi, guys. I'm a Leeds fan. Newcastle in better hands than us. Rumour is Phillips and Bamford are going your way. How a great move for the club. New owners. Great for the North in general. Mick, wow. I mean, I've not heard that. I won't get too carried away, mate, because I tend not to believe these things until we see these players getting walked around the pitch. But it would be nice to think that we will be able to bring some players in. If we can attract the calibre of Phillips to Newcastle, that would be good for us. I certainly got to say that I agree with Roy Keane's wording when he was asked about transfers and about Martial and potentially Lingard going to Newcastle. And he said those are the kind of players you don't want in a relegation fight because they're only interested in one thing. They're interested in money. They're mercenaries, and that they won't, if the chips are down, they won't be ready for a relegation battle. So that in itself is worrying and concerning for me. But I would take Phillips and Bamford tomorrow, 100%. But Bielsa looked a beaten man yesterday as well, I've got to be honest. Very difficult guy to read. But when he was kneeling down watching the goals go in yesterday, he did not look happy. Rachel says, I'm confident we'll stay up. We knew the Christmas period was going to be a mare. Yeah, I would agree with that as well, Rachel. I think that ultimately we looked at the fixtures and thought we're going to get nothing out of December. Well, so far, so good. Anything we get out of December is a bonus, I would say. I hope every game gets cancelled between now and the end of January and we can get players in and the belief of winning can come back. P.S. Time to get shot at Dubravka as well as the guys. The guys that clowned the first goal was down to him, says Funko. I'm not sure where Holly is, but ultimately she would not agree with that. I'll tell you now, because our dad and her have been disagreeing about this whole Dubravka thing. For me, I still think we need to build from the back. I do think we need a goalkeeper. I think we need a goalkeeper in, even if it's somebody to put pressure on Dubravka. I would like to see a goalkeeper in, and I think you build from the back. A good goalkeeper, a good centre half, a good centre midfielder, and a good centre forward. That's what I would like. Holly has disappeared altogether now, so I'll continue reading your questions. Question: do you think Newcastle will get relegated? No, Tom, I don't. I've got to be perfectly honest. Holly is taken ill. She's not well. She's unfortunately had to go off. So I'll continue for the last 15 minutes. Get well soon, Holly. Hope things are okay. I hope your dad hasn't made that tea. He'll be in bother. But yeah, look, I mentioned it earlier before, Tom. I genuinely think that Newcastle will stay up this season. Ryan says, I've been saying this for months. ASM is constantly getting grief off our support for being completely honest. I'm not sure what you mean by completely honest, Ryan. Maybe you've mistyped that, but ASM is a luxury player. He's the most exciting player we've got when he's going forward. But those kind of players tend not to do well during relegation battles. It would be unfair to say that he's useless and he's not very good. This guy has carried us in the last couple of seasons at times. He's got us some crucial goals. He's going through a bad spell, and at the moment he's not really doing it. But I will keep a hold of him for now. Certainly wouldn't think about getting shot of him. Phillips would be good there under House, as Mick T. I look at Leeds and they look like the proverbial stone. They're dropping like the proverbial stone, which I find surprising. But they look as if they've been found out. And of course, Bamford's been missing for a while as well. He's back now, I believe. But it's been a difficult few months for Leeds. What's your feelings with the teams like Burnley having 3 games in hand now? I'm not bothered about that, Ian. I'm really not. I think Newcastle will stay within touching distance, and I still think they'll get out of it. The games that you have to win are the games against each other. That's my thoughts on that, Ian. Tom says, we need to invest in January. If you want us to stop up, we need a goal scorer. Yeah, and they're difficult to find at the best of times, but January, even more difficult. Burnley's got 3 games in hand on us now. Yep, there'll be other teams in and around us, though, and the games that they've got to play. Burnley aren't a very good football team. We've seen that for themselves. Look, we beat them. Toonami says, like Jamie Carragher said, our back 4 is a championship back 4. In January, Newcastle need a new defence, goalkeeper, and new centre backs. Trouble is that we're the worst team at present in the league, says Crixus. Well, Norwich are just below us. Craig Bell says signings need to be in place from the beginning of January. Not much in it at the bottom. We can still stay up, but just. Oliver says, Clark, what a top player. I don't think so. He's past his best. Ryan says, I've also said we have not improved realistically and getting abuse again from our fans because I see no improvement from Howe. If relegation, sorry, but Howe has failed. Ryan, I've learned a valuable lesson. Do not go on Twitter after the game, because if you do, it's full of knee-jerk reactionists who just like to have a pop. Better still, wait until you've watched the game back, watch the highlights or seen whatever, and then go on and put what you want to put. But honestly, the days of me wasting my night after a game arguing with somebody on Twitter are long gone. Evening, Colin. Hope you're well. Tom says, what is happening to Joe Willock? He doesn't seem like the player he was last season. Well, we discussed that earlier. Geordie Toonbalai says, Leeds player like Liverpool and Villa, next chance to close the gap. If we could sign Trippier, Tarkowski, Cody, that would strengthen our defence, and Lingard would be good bit of business. Also, okay, Tony, I agree. Trippier seems as if it's gained a lot of traction this week. Cody has been linked for a long time. I'd be very surprised if Tarkowski came, only because he's at a relegation rival. Lingard on loan, I think, would work, but I fear that he'd probably go to West Ham. Ex-players on VAR would be the way for me. Dan, wouldn't disagree with that either. Great idea, but we've said this for a long time about ex-players being referees, and there wasn't a queue for that, was there? Maidstone Junction and Outstable says, defence can't do defensive basics. Midfield only runs. Neither supports attack, keep possession, or helps defence. Attack is erratic individuals with no cohesion. There is a part 2 to that, but I need to probably scroll down to find it. There it is. Typical Ashley squad. Cheap buys and no upgrade over years, then sprinkled with players that flatter to deceive, which he could have hoped to sell. Yeah, I've got to agree, mate. You're 100% right. All right, Thomas, hope you're well, mate. Matthew says, wonder what Michael Oliver thinks on these decisions with being a Newcastle fan. He's probably as sick as us all, but not as sick as Holly, obviously. Have feeling there are going to be 2 weeks of no footy, COVID break. What do you think? Could be helpful. Very helpful. Travel chasing for us, I think. A break and those games being played later in the season will be massively beneficial if we can bring in some good players. And it also means that the gap between us and Leeds is only 6 points, and that is enough to attract new players. If it goes over 8, 9, 10 points, I think some players are going to think twice, especially with other teams having games in hand. We are 100% staying up. We're in a mini league at the bottom with 4 or 5 other teams. A few defenders and a front man in January will be fine. Chins up, lads and lasses. Michael, I do agree. Brian, okay, everyone, fantastic to hear the crowd at the end. And Eddie Howe is 100% support from me. Joe Linton, great effort, Bonnie lad. Looking forward to watching you playing for the Toon for years. Brian, the fans at the end were fantastic. It was no surprise to me. Great to see them flying the scarves. Got to be honest, in the Platinum Club where I sit, I was the only person singing. I did manage to get about 40 or 50 around us eventually clapping. But the rest of the ground needs to get into this mindset of, singing again, which is something we didn't do under Ashley. Using VAR and the refs as an excuse is not good enough. Get real fans. We are not good enough, period. We create our own problems. Oliver, you've got to admit that there is a bit of this, mate. We can't all be paranoid. There's definitely something not right with VAR when Newcastle games are concerned. I think we need a new central defensive midfielder now. The Hayden has dropped off the pace compared to last season. We also need a new fullback. Rachel says, I think we need a goalie. We do need a goalie as weak. Look, we've got other keepers, but are they gonna be able to play? How are they going to play under Howe? Do you know what I mean? That's the problem. That is the problem. I'm not sure. Holly, get well soon, Pat. And obviously had a dodgy kebab, a dodgy pasty. One of the two, but get well soon, Pat. Don't worry about it. I'm holding the fort. I'm doing okay. Ryan Sweeney says, keeping it Toon. YT plug, Steve. It's Jason. Thanks, mate. No idea what that means, mate. No idea what that means at all. Sorry. Alan says, we went 4-0 down. Everyone's singing and waving flags. Just need the Rocky music. Yeah, it was good. Anyone who hasn't seen that, well worth a watch at the end. Tim Cairns, good evening. He says, Steve, choice. Bread sauce or sprouts on your Christmas lunch or both? What is bread sauce? Half of you's on the drink tonight. I'm not sure what that means at all. Sprouts, yeah, 100%. I'm definitely a Sprouts man, mate. And cranberry sauce. I do like mushy peas, but I don't think I'll be getting them this year. Which of the 500 players we're buying in January do you think are possible? Have you got any inside info? Spill the beans. No, I haven't. I've not asked anybody. And don't believe what you read in the papers. Don't believe what you read on the web. Wait until I'm standing there with a black and white strip on at the side of the pitch, getting photographed, Ian. I don't have any updates. Liam Kennedy's show on a Tuesday. That's the best one for dispelling myths and rumours. Get yourself on Tuesday's show. We are going to do one this Tuesday. Has Holly caught something from Fernandez and Dummett? No, she has had something bad to eat by the sounds of it. Premier League meeting post to be tomorrow. What will your verdict be? Tom, God knows, mate. I'm not sure. Julie, hooray! Hope you're doing well. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. I'm going to have 3 on this week. I've got 3 Christmas jumpers. I'll give them all an air in this week. Lots of people saying get well. Holly, Colin, Ryan. Yeah, she's okay. I think just had something a little bit ropey deep when she's got home. When do you think we will reach our War first top 8 finish? If we stay up this season, I think it's possible next season. And that might sound mad, but I do. David Spillett says, what do we think of AMS? You mean Alan Maximin, ASM? He's struggling. He is struggling, yeah. I just don't think he enjoys the fact that Eddie Howe's come in and he's quite a disciplinarian. Again, the system we're playing at the minute might not suit these players. That's half the problem, I think. Shields, he says, Kabai's never been replaced. The team really lacks creativity. I wouldn't disagree with that. Thought ASM and even Wilson was poor today. Terrible decision making. We had a few chances up front. ASM, you know, he only came on as a sub, wasn't great. Wilson ran into the ground. He just doesn't get the service. There is no service. Kenny, great to see you and your lad today. I hope you enjoyed your day despite the result. Super Mac was bang on with his prediction 4-0. You're right. Pep has praised the Newcastle fans. Hopefully he feels sorry for enough for us to loan us De Bruyne, Rodri and Silva for the rest of the season. We might get Aki though. You never know. Do they have VAR in the Championship? I was just wondering. They don't have VAR in the Premiership, do they? Paul Patterson says the VAR situation needs investigating. It's corrupt, in my opinion. I'm worried that the new owners don't have steps in place or maybe not communicating. It's just Crixus. I think they've taken on a lot. And I've said this all along. They didn't expect to take the club over. And I think ultimately they've been caught a little bit unawares. And that is a big problem. Getting Connor Cody, Captain Cody, I would take him 100%. He's a cracking player. I would take him tomorrow, 100%. Why didn't Willock fit in at Arsenal? Good question. He fitted in here when he was on loan, but he's not doing the business at the moment. He did an interview this week, and I've got to be honest, I didn't see it or hear it, but I haven't read anything about it. I'm going to chase that up maybe for a show later this week when I do the show with Liam. Being positive, we've finally found a player in Joe Linton. Yeah, he's still not worth 40 million, but he's okay, isn't he? He's getting better. Fraser isn't that an off-the-ball challenge, middle of the pitch, would be a foul? No. Straffy, you're right, 100%. It needs to be investigated, this, mate. It's utter rubbish what is going on at the moment. What is he doing playing bloody Hendricks? I've got to be honest, I turned to my mate at the match today and I said, it's a seasonal thing, isn't it? It's because he's got long hair. He looks like the son of God. They brought him on. It was just for Christmas. Surely to God. Need a Hendricks for Christmas, don't you? I said after the Burnley game, Lascelles would revert to his usual incompetence. So monkey suit, yeah, you were right. Thomas says, it's a goal of mine one day to own Newcastle United Christmas jumper. It would horrify me girlfriend and even better her mother. Get yourself one. There's a few available on NUFCmatters.com. You can buy one on there, mate. There's a great one of Peter Beardsley. Hark now here. Tom Dixon says, do you think St. Maximin isn't playing well under Howe? When Bruce was in charge, he was playing good. Tom, I just don't think he's up for the fight. I don't think he's up for a relegation battle. Some players are, some players aren't. I think under Bruce, and Holly covered this before, he was a Bruce sympathiser. I mean, he was the one who put out the big long note when Bruce left, saying it was gutted to see him going. Well, no wonder if he was having a couple of days off a week and, do you know what I mean, not doing any training. Howe's come in and he's cracking the whip. I'm sure that hasn't gone down well in this St. Maximin household. And as somebody pointed out earlier, on his highlights thing on his Twitter, apparently he shows himself keeping the ball up 4 times at Anfield and boasts, look at what I did at Anfield. But yeah, you weren't tracking back, you weren't passing the ball to our players, and you weren't whipping it across for Callum Wilson. So Crazy. Is Dummett alive? Yeah, I mean, it's just ludicrous, that whole thing about Dummett as well, isn't it? You think we would have been told at the start of the season that Dummett's not going to feature, but no. And the Fernandez thing, look, if it's a personal issue, come out and say it's a personal issue. We'll understand, we're supporters, but suddenly he's now got an injury which is keeping him out over the festive season. The whole thing is farcical. And I still point back to what Graham Jones said. Well, Graham Jones made that bizarre comment about him not playing as if he'd fell out with him. I just don't know. Man, you should still have a lot of players missing 10 days isolation in it. Ian, yeah, I hope you're right. It's done with life, still cracks me up. Great crack as usual, Steve. Hair of the dog, Holly. Pardon the pun, you'll be fine. Thanks, Colin, mate. Thanks, Colin. Good stuff. ASM's heart's not in it. Said he doesn't like a relegation battle, and he's shown it. Yep. Need a Hendrix for Christmas, definitely, but not him. The gin. Baza says Holly has been eating Steve's horrible food. Oh, now where? She hasn't been to Coleman's. She's been to the match. Coleman's, they were great. We're going to definitely go and do that as well. I think we're going to go and film it. I'm going to take Holly down, and her and her dad are going to have that meal, and I guarantee she won't spew up after that. Good show, guys. Always appreciate it. Cheers, AD. Thank you, Rachel. Hope you're well. Maxi is a luxury player. Tim, you're right. Great to be back watching live. Cheers. But I hope you're well, mate. I hope you and the family have a great Christmas. Get us a few lookalikes in as well. We need some lookalikes for the big show this week. Just to give you an update anyway, Monday, Fans 5-minute rant will be on. Fans Forum usually, but Fans 5-minute rant, I think, again tomorrow. Tuesday, 10:30 in the morning, Liam Kennedy. Wednesday, we'll probably see me do Supermac and Gibbo in the morning. That means Thursday will be the three amigos together in the flesh, hopefully, as long as Mitch gets here. And then Friday, we will probably put on the retro show, which is the European games, which were pre-recorded. We'll then go into a spell of pre-recorded shows. You can see them. They're already premiered. But ultimately, I will do at least one, if not two shows, probably with Holly over the Christmas period, just so you've got a little live section with us talking about the games coming up, etc. Mick Lowe's is keen as well to get back on. If you haven't watched The View from the Middle East, Mick Lowe's is doing that at the minute. It's helping with his rehabilitation. So if you want to get your fix in Mick Lowe's, jump onto A View from the Middle East now, and you'll be able to see that. Thanks for all your messages and all of your kind words as well for Holly. I'm sure she'll be fine. Dave, good to see you at the food bank today. And thank you for those of you who came up and said hello today. Honestly, it's overwhelming for me and others on the show when people come up and go, I just want to say we love the show and blah, 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 blah. Means a lot. So thank you for that. Just pleased that we've managed to keep it going, and long may it continue. I'm sure we will continue to knock it out of the park. We've got a great team, and just want to thank everybody in the chat, and thanks to all the admin and all the sponsors again as well. Don says, thanks for all the streams and all the best to you, Steve. I'm dedicating this episode though to Margaret, 82 years of age, came to see us today. She says she watches all the shows. She has done for 2 years. She's been going to Newcastle since she was 15. I'm sorry we didn't get the result, Margaret, but I tell you what, it was an absolute pleasure to meet you. And please come back to the Dog and Parrot again on the pre-match. Don't be embarrassed. Get yourself along. Be lovely, lovely to see you. People who are saying have a good Christmas, yeah, have a good Christmas too. But we will be back live tomorrow and on Tuesday and on Wednesday. So we'll get a bit more. We'll get a bit more of that in, I'm sure, over the next few days. Margaret Legend says, Ian. So there you go. You're getting your own fan club, Margaret. We'll have to get you on. She says she won't come on. She's too embarrassed. She doesn't want to be on TV, she says. But Margaret, it'd be nice to get you on and hear your views and your stories, etc. if you could. Oh, I have recorded my dream team as well, which will be going out over Christmas. A lot of people saying, when are you doing your dream team? When are you doing your dream team? I've done it. I tell you what, it's hard. It really is hard doing that. Okay. Good to see you, folks. I hope you all have a great night. And whatever you're doing, don't watch Match of the Day. It's too painful to watch it back. I've already fast-forwarded through it myself. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, with Chris Hall and Pete Davey as they take your calls. And if you haven't rang in before, you haven't gone on, get in and support the lads. Take care. I'll see you all on Tuesday. God bless you.
critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's